to The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375. Well, hello there, good people. Hello. We are back. We are back for another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. My name is Anita Pierce, and I'm the founder and CEO of 11375, and also the host of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. So excited to have you join us today. We are so pleased because when we have courageous entrepreneurs who are willing to share the truth about entrepreneurship, we love and we're here for it. So today is no different. We have a guest who I have had the privilege to now know at least for the past 6 or 7 months. And I can tell you I am very, very excited about interviewing this next guest. Tifany Thomas is the founder and CEO of Around the Clock Tots. And I can tell you that being a parent, you need a place sometime just to have your children to be in a safe space and also to learn and to be able to engage. But also, when I think of services such as what Tifany offers, I think about a community, a holistic community that can help, to be able to offer an offset, as we are juggling and building out our dreams. And so I want to tell you that I have the best seat in the house because I get to engage, learn from entrepreneurs who are really not afraid to be in this space and tell the truth about what entrepreneurship really is and frankly what it isn't. Because if we're looking at or have our eyes focusing on what is being perpetuated, shared, a lot of it is not real, but it does tell a good story. And my next guest is so going to tell the truth and share Tifany's story about what makes Tifany and Around the Clock Tots the place to be for you and your children. So, hey, Tifany, how are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I cannot complain. It is so good to see you here in this
Likewise.
space.
Thank you for having me.
So, Tiffany, tell your story. Who are you? What do you
Ooh,
do?
excuse me. Okay, so I am a mother, I am a
Mm,
wife, I am an educator, and I am an entrepreneur.
mm,
So I am currently teaching, full time teaching, but I'm transitioning into full time entrepreneurship. So my entrepreneurship includes owning and directing Around the Clock Tots, which is a 24-hour childcare program in Brooklyn.
all right, Tiffany. So you said a lot in a little bit, right? So you are working currently as we are in this space as of today, and you're
Correct.
going to be officially transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship. Now,
Yes.
tell that story, right? Tell me the why behind that. Why did you make the decision to do the leap? Why now?
Mhm. Uh, well, all right. So I'll have to rewind back to when I had my second daughter.
Okay.
I was working. I was a social worker, so I was working in a shelter, and my schedule was overnights and evenings after 5 p.m.
Mm,
And I could not locate a daycare.
mm,
So ultimately, praise God, I had my mother support me with that. But if I did not have her, I honestly would not have been able to, continue in that field.
mm,
So that I said to myself, I wish, like a 24-hour daycare existed. And then I searched and I found none. So I said,
mm.
why not start one? And that was 2011. So I still continued to be a social worker, and then I became a licensed teacher in 2015. So the business was formed, but it wasn't active.
Okay.
So fast forward to 2022, I had some struggles in the career of teaching, not teaching per se, but the struggles, the unspoken struggles of being an educator. And I was at a point where I said, okay, this it's not what I came into teaching for is not there for me anymore. So I
Mm,
said I need to seriously, make my business grow. What I planted over 10 years ago, I need to now nurture. And that's when I decided to go and become licensed. So that's May of 2022 I got my business license. Still teaching, not ready to entirely, detach from that. Mainly because of finances. I was afraid to not have money. So I continued teaching. And then again, I hitting hurdles and I'm like, I don't have enrollment. It's now 2023, not a single child. And I'm like, okay, I got to rethink this. So I finally got my first child in July of 2023, and that was it until October.
mm,
Yes. And then still teaching. But I took a leave of absence in January of 2024. Yes. Took a leave of absence in January 2024 for health, mental health, more than anything else from
mhm,
teaching. And I went in. I went in. I said, this is the time while I'm out from teaching full time, I'm going to give my business 100% of me. What
mm.
seemed like overnight, I was at nearly at full capacity.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It
Okay.
just took me giving it all of me. So still teaching. Couldn't completely detach from that, but now I'm at a place where, you know, my spirit is telling me, it's time to, move away from full time teaching. And I'm always going to be an educator, even in the position owning my business and directing it. I'm still educating young minds. So that part of me is not changing. I just won't be doing it for the Department of Education.
Okay.
So that's what brings me to where I am today.
All right. So all good. So I heard a lot of good gems, right? And as you were telling your story. So you're very honest in saying that you were maintaining your full-time capacity
Mm,
because of finances and not wanting to be without food, shelter, those type of things that you need, basic needs to maintain who you are and your family. And I like that you brought that to the table because what you're doing now, from what I heard, is still taking a leap of faith, but you utilize time when you were, focusing in on who you are, who you becoming, to now building this dream. And you made sure, right? You have some parameters that I heard in place that you're able to transition. Did I capture that?
Yep, perfectly.
So,
Yes.
what are some of the unspoken things that, as you're transitioning, that one who may want to enter this transition, what should they
Mhm.
be thinking about?
They should be prepared for a struggle.
Mm,
They should be as patient as they possibly can be because what you want to see may not happen overnight. And I like to live by that saying, like I live by faith and not by sight. So
right.
that's exactly what I'm doing with this business. Even when I had that one child for a year, everyone around me is like, "What are you doing? This isn't it." And I'm like,
Mm,
I'm not gonna let what I'm seeing deter me from what I want. So
mm.
my faith kept me going. So and that's I have faith that this leap I'm taking is going to bring me to where I not only want to be, but where I need to be. So just be prepared for what you expect to see not happening when you want it to happen, but
Mm.
know that it will happen and keep faith that it will happen.
Okay, so I received that in my spirit, right? Because everything is timely. Sometimes the
Mhm.
mentor needs to be mentored all the time. And so I like your honesty, right? Because oftentimes when, again, you're looking at, okay, I start this build business, right? Whether you go down to your local county clerk's office and file a DBA, or you file, with the State Department as an LLC as your starting point, there still is a process that you have to follow. And just because you file that one day doesn't mean by Friday. If it's on a Monday, by Friday, you're not going to make the $1 million that
Right.
you are expecting. Um, I want to launch a little bit, right? And taking a deeper dive into preparation financially. What did that look like for you?
So, um, as I continued to work full time as a teacher, I knew that one day I was going to detach from that. So, I
Mm,
definitely had to save, and unfortunately, I wasn't raised to save. I wasn't taught how to utilize credit, at a young age, like in my early 20s, I went from like a nearly perfect credit score to like not.
right?
So, I had to like dig myself out of that. Um, and remember that, haste makes waste. So I just took my time. I took my time and I saved and I declined some social outings and I did not try to keep up with the Joneses and you know as you have said many times it's not always sexy. So yeah, it wasn't easy and it definitely wasn't something that I always wanted to do, but I knew it was something that I had to do because one day I'm going to walk away from this very well paying career to pursue entrepreneurship. So,
And so again, right, we talk about the things that are not comfortable, right? So I too was not raised where saving, money management, or even just having a conversation
right.
about utilize proper utilization of credit, right? So I think I've shared many times previously about not being responsible. And I wasn't responsible because I didn't know, right? It
Right.
wasn't because I thought it was, a great idea, but I had access to something instead of utilizing that resource to create an asset. I created, just stuff, right? Which
Right.
wasn't appropriate. And now moving fast forward, understanding how to appropriately leverage, business lines of credit. And what does that look like? That becomes critically essential when you are starting your business. So Tiffany talked about something really important is maintaining your credit score. You never know when you're going
Absolutely.
to have access to, money that you can leverage. And just because you have access to leverage it, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to spend all of it at one time,
Exactly.
right? That's another thing, right? So you shaking your head, Tifany. Come on, do tell. Let's get some secrets here.
I was just thinking about, like, when I was growing up, I'm like, that wasn't taught to me. And if anything, the opposite is what was shared with me. Like, oh, you got a credit card. You know what this means? You could just use it. And it wasn't like explain, like, you got to pay this back. And not only do you have to pay it back, the minimum payment isn't going to be enough, but unfortunately that's what I was told. So I'm breaking that generational curse. My children will not go that same path. Like, I'm teaching them at a very young age about being financially responsible. But yes, that credit is everything. It absolutely is. And even though you may form a business, you may think, oh, because I hear this a lot too, I'll borrow in my business name. Well, I'm going to do this. Nothing's going to be. No, especially in the beginning, it's all connected. So you gotta get right if you want your business to be right. And the time to start is now. Even if your idea isn't for another few months or so, or even next year, when it comes to being financially responsible, you have to start that now.
Let's clap off on that and say amen, because you can't. You want to know why I'm going to say that? Because again, this is about this the real journey of entrepreneurship is about telling the truth about spaces that we're in. And I can tell you that I didn't start gaining access to leveraging business lines of credit to about 4.5, 5 years ago. And that was it was forced, right? Because I started securing larger contracts where I'm like, oh, I'll have that in my bank account, and really understanding what to do when it came to that. That wasn't always the start of my business, right? When I started my business, I used all personal funds to really start my business. I didn't have, perfect credit, but my credit was not, terrible, but I just didn't leverage appropriately. Now come on now, forget it. Forget it.
And that too, my full-time job was basically funding my business,
right?
But I knew I had to prepare for that detachment, which is also why having some type of access to, credit is good. Because now, if there are those little gaps that I need to be taken care of, I have that line of credit, loan funds, whatever it may be. But again, it's about being responsible with that. That's what's most important.
And say amen to that. So Around the Clock Tots LLC is now in full swing.
Yes.
You have full capacity. Tell me about your joys in working in this space.
There are so many. So we are more than just a child care program, right? I like to say we are like a for-profit nonprofit, but
right.
Because I bring so much more to these families. I'm constantly checking in with them. I'm supporting them in other ways. We've donated clothing, we've donated diapers, wipes, food. I've supported moms with applying for child care subsidies, resume preparation. I'm giving them attire for interviews. And I'm constantly checking in with them. In my past work, I was a social worker, so that part of me is always there. It's always going to be there. And I'm asking, like, how's this going? How's that going? Did you do this? Did you do that? If they're stuck somewhere, I'll give them a referral. I'm constantly doing that. So we are proud to say that we serve the whole family. We do serve the whole family. And we also specialize in supporting children with special needs, which is most child care programs do not do. They will not accept a child with special needs. So at this time, we have 4 children enrolled with special needs. And that's extremely important for so many reasons. I'm also a special educator. So that's just a passion that I have. I have a child with special needs. So all that, it's all tied in. They need inclusivity. They need to feel a part of a nurturing, caring environment. And they need to see children that don't look like them, whether, in multiple ways. Unfortunately, the way it's, even though we try to steer away from segregation in the education system, we are segregated in many ways. Right. That's a whole nother conversation.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yes, but when it comes to this, children with special needs, they're usually just with other children with special needs. Right.
And that's not real life.
And exactly.
That's not real life.
Exactly. So, we support that nonverbal autistic child with how to be in a setting with children that are verbal, and that are not like them, because eventually, you're going to be an adult and stepping out into that world in whatever capacity that may look like. There needs to be, strategies and ways that you handle yourself so you are prepared for all those social interactions. And that's what we do at Around the Clock Tots.
So that's a sweet spot, Tiffany, because what you mentioned is something that, well, first and foremost, I do not know of many 24-hour,
Right.
uh I don't want to say daycare service, but really,
You notice I have not said that word.
right. It's not a daycare service. It's not that. It's
Right.
really reliable wraparound services for families,
Right.
right? And so I feel that there is a community, that you are creating
Right.
that helps to support. So you're like the auntie on the block, right?
Right.
That, listen, I can't get to my kid. Can you pick up right now? So that's what I'm thinking when
Right.
I'm thinking about community support, community needs, right?
Hmm.
But also there's a safety factor, right? That I'm hearing as well. Like, you want to make sure that you're with that you put your child in care. It's almost like an extension of you. Um,
Right.
that
Exactly.
they're safe, that they're in a wonderful, supportive community that helps. But I really appreciate the fact that you are supporting, children with special needs, and that there isn't, an isolation per se. Because when you think about, as you yourself know, you have a child with special needs, that as we're rearing our children to live in this world,
Right.
they're not going to always be around those, whether
Exactly.
it's visible or invisible special needs children, because a lot of, children with special needs, it's not readily identifiable.
Right.
So it's not like, visible. So I appreciate that you are curating a space where it's real life for them,
Right.
real life, which makes me leads to the follow-up question. The parents,
Hmm.
how do you help? So, by, you're obviously supporting them, working parents, what other, so I know that you mentioned that, as you are, doing your intake, talking, consistently communicating with the parents, what
Right.
else do you offer parents?
So a part of, like, when we do the enrollment process, of course, I'm asking a ton of questions about the child and their child care needs, etc. But then I also turn it to them, which they're like usually always surprised. Like, no one else has asked me this. And I also require that the child is present at that time, because some don't do that either. They're like, they just tell me to come and sign some papers, and I'm like, no, this is a mutual, this is a relationship here. This has to be as much good for you as it is for us. So your child has to want to be here. We have to, like, be able to welcome your child here. We have to be able to serve them, and then we have to be able to serve you. Because you're leaving, as you said, this is not a light decision to make. You're entrusting us with the care of your child. So I need to know about you, and when, life is happening, right? It could affect your parenting, right? So I want to know how that is for you. Like, are you a single parent? What's your living situation? I've had parents in the shelter system, and I've had parents with domestic violence. I'm also a certified domestic violence specialist, by the way. So yeah, so I know how to do all that when it comes to serving these families. I know how to do it without judgment, and I ask the questions that no one's asking for several reasons. But I'm like, it all matters. It all matters. What your child is seeing at home is going to matter. How they behave here. So it's having those difficult conversations, but it's also necessary, because most of the time out the day they're with us. And then they're back. So it has to be a mutual arrangement on how we're, like, essentially raising your child, right? So how can I support you in supporting your child? That's the conversations that I have with the parent. So whether that's, you may need an early drop off one day, you may need a late pickup, you may need an overnight, when that's not your regular schedule, just it's always about serving the family and meeting their needs to the best of our ability, of course. And if you are that parent that's not working, why is that? And if it's something that is like because you just don't have the funds to commute to a job interview, then I can give you a Metro card. You don't have something to wear, I can give you, an outfit. God knows I got more than enough.
Right. Right.
That's not being used. So that's the ways in which, I serve the families. And it's not always been mothers. I've had single fathers, I've had grandparents raising their children. So it's a village, and I want them to know that we are here to support you, not just caring for your child from whatever time, from pickup to drop off. We are here for you in whatever capacity that you may need us.
Okay, Tifany. So I have more questions, right? So I'm curious because you've been like low key saying I'm certified this, I'm certified that. But just tell us about your credentials, like because a lot of times when we are happen to be Black and brown women. We're always like super like educated. Can you drop some credentials, please? I mean, you don't have to say all, but I'm gonna ask. Oh,
Okay, so licensed special education, New York State licensed special education teacher, certified domestic violence specialist, business owner. It's funny because like I didn't even remember the domestic violence specialist until I said that we have family. So that's why I'm like, is there something else I'm missing? But I think that is all of it. Oh, well, I was a social worker, but I wasn't licensed. But I've had so much experience that, the license wasn't even, it wouldn't have made me or broke me, having that. But
right. Yeah. But I'm also going to say, and with the business, Around the Clock Tots LLC is a certified MWBE city, state, New York City, New York State, and also by Black certified as well.
Yes.
And so those certifications, while there may be some current concern, do still mean something.
Right.
It means that now the business, along with Tifany's leadership, does now have access to play in the government contracting space.
Yes.
And which leads me to the and. What are your plans to do to utilize those certifications? Because you do have them and you do have the qualifications in the background to be able to close the gap. What does that look like for you?
Well, I'm currently trying to get my foot in the door with the hospital, because that, as you know, hospital staff, they work non-traditional hours. So the need is there for childcare outside of the 9 to 5 for people who work in the hospital. So city ran, federally funded program hospitals, if their staff is in need of childcare, that's where I want to, provide my services. So through contracting, through just bringing awareness, whatever that may look like, you can give me almost any industry and I can tell you where we could be of service, where that need could happen. The film industry, they work around the clock, recording films or music or whatever it may be, entertainment industry. So contracts can, come through that, even the education, the DOE, like they have hours outside of, after school closes, if there's workshops, if there's things that parents need to attend. Because I've had people tell me, I hold workshops with like GED, prep or testing, and parents are bringing their children and, that's not working. This is where we could step in. So there's just so many areas that I feel that, we could be of service to these city, agencies. So I'm hoping and praying that in the near future for Around the Clock Tots, there will be a contract through that certification. I got to, when you ask me what are my certifications, I'm thinking me as an individual. So I tend to always forget the MWBEs because I'm like, that's the business certification, but I'm going to remember that.
You had to put in the application for that stuff. So that's all inclusive holistically. So like when I coach, I don't, I don't just, omit the individual.
Right.
Because running a business, this is a human side. You're especially when you're the founder, right? When
Right.
you're the founder, there is some detachment, but not really. So you put in the application for around the clock tots to be able to successfully secure these contracts, these certifications. And the
Right.
contracts will come, but just like I always say, you got to put in the work, the
Right.
work, the effort, right? So as you heard Tifany share just a little bit about her story, I'm sure that there's much more to unpack. That Tifany was working, not just like and putting and stashing, because I can tell
Yeah.
you, right? You don't make a launch and jump
Right.
without having something. We still have to eat. Tifany still
Right.
has a family. Tifany still has bills. And so there still is a responsibility for self to maintain self, right? Be self-sufficient. And
Right.
also, right, as I'm thinking about building this dream, building the dream. So, Tifany, I want you to, tell us a little bit more about, what are some of the things, what are some of the challenges that, one may experience as, either currently stepping in or just generally running your business?
Right. Well, in regards to stepping in, I feel like a lot of people struggle with how to even begin.
Mm,
The idea of being a business owner seems so like intimidating and frightening. And it's like, where do I even start? Especially if you don't have the business idea. I feel
mm,
like start with what you're passionate about. What, like, if you could do it every day for the rest of your life, you would do. Start with that, and build it from there, right? Because there's nothing more rewarding than doing what you love and getting paid for it. So
right.
I would start I would start with that, right? And then start light with the certifications, the licensing, baby steps, because there's a lot of people out here doing things with a trade or a craft, but they're not like an actual business. So I'm saying, this is a hobby until you become a business, or this is just a dream until you have an action plan. My words could be a little, but I got to give you the reality of it, like, because a lot of us have really good ideas, and as you've met, especially people of color, we have these, but we're just like drilled, go to school, even college if it may be, and go down that pipeline. And again, I'm breaking them generational curses.
Right.
My baby told me the other day he wants to do like music, or like theatrical music, and I'm just like, okay, let's talk about that.
Right.
Just finding what your passion is, right, and starting from there. But then once you enter into it, being consistent. Consistency is key, because as I
Mm,
said, I kept teaching and I wasn't giving it my all, and hence the one child for a year. But once I took that leave of absence, here I am overnight, full capacity. You have to be consistent. It's either go all the way in or don't, or go big or go home. So you got to be prepared to go all the way in, right? It has to be almost the most important thing to you, besides like the obvious. But and never giving up, right? Because there's gonna be moments that you're gonna hit hurdles, right? It's not always gonna be glamorous, and you just gotta keep going. And as I'm saying it, I'm thinking about naysayers. I had a lot
mm,
of those,
mm.
and those are going to exist, and you need to learn how to shut them out, right? And whatever you lean on for support, whether it's a friend, a family member, your faith, keep that with you throughout your journey, right? Because even though there's that business part of it all, there's also just that reality that, this is hard. Where am I going now? Who am I turning to? What am I? So if it's a prayer, if it's a phone call, if it's whatever it may be, always have that with you on your journey, because those times will come and you will need that support. So always be open to receiving it. And criticism. You have to be open to criticism, right? And I understand it also depends on who it's coming from, right? That's important too, right? Because not everybody got your best interest as theirs, but be prepared for the constructive criticism, right? You have to be able to see your weaknesses, how you can improve on those weaknesses, work towards improving those weaknesses, right? And just be ready for everything not always ending up the way you want it to be. And that's okay. It's going to happen. What's important is that you learn from it, figure it out, move on, and keep pushing to where where you ultimately need to be. And I keep saying need versus want.
Mm.
Yeah.
Tiffany, you're brilliant. I,
Thank
I'm
you.
like, I'm so glad to know you because
Um,
one of the things that I can definitely say is that you have a fire in you, right? So
thank
your
you.
story, your business, you're fueling your business by your energy, right? And so I appreciate the words that you mentioned about being consistent, right? What you put in is what you get out of the business.
Absolutely.
And I always say this even more importantly now is the universe will respond to your activity. It has no other choice but to respond to your activity and engagement. But it's something else you said that, you said a lot, but I was tuned into the fact of, not paying attention to the haters. I'm going to call them haters. You said naysayers. I'm just going to call them haters, right?
Call
But
it what it is.
particularly those, right,
Right.
that have not had the courage to step in a space of doing something or living out their dreams.
Right.
Right? It's important to kind of get feedback, but especially, I'm gonna just say I ignore people who ain't doing what I want to do, right?
Mm.
And it's not that I'm above or I'm kumbayaing or whatever. It's just that I recognize that if you are where I want to be, I want to know.
Right.
I will accept that. But if you are just like chilling and have no level of intention of utilizing your purpose in this earth, then guess who not listening right now? Guess who not listening?
Ah,
Yes. That would be me. And again, it's I am zeroing in on, where do I want to go? Who do I need to know? What
mm,
spaces that I need to be in? How much money is it going to take me to get, if I don't have the money, who do I need to gain access to, or what resources do I need to gain access to in order to be able to help me to figure out this dream? And again, I'm not leeching off of people because I feel
right.
like that everyone that I come into contact with, there is value, right? I
Right.
don't admit someone just because, oh, I don't want to be like on my level because that sounds so not me.
I
But
understand 100% what you're
you're
saying.
not we're not moving in the same momentum. So there's a
Hmm.
level of prioritization of those who are moving in that same
Correct.
thing right now.
Exactly.
Not hating, but
Right.
I can't do it anymore. So
Right.
I appreciate how you shared about, yes, a lot of people going to say something. A
Right.
lot of people not going to believe in your dream. A lot, a
Right.
lot, a lot. I promise you, a lot. And you have to find a source of inspiration for you, the vision and the purpose that you have been told, right? Because only you have been given those instructions as to what it is that you need to do on this earth. And it is
Right.
up to you to have the courage to follow, whether it's through entrepreneurship, because everyone is not designed to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I also don't want to tell like, yep, get in this space, yep, come on over here. If you're not ready for it and you're
Right.
not prepared for it, then it's there's some steps that you need to take, which leads me to my next questions, Tiffany.
Yes.
Startup costs, right?
Mm.
What does startup cost? What does licensing that is required to start your reliable service? Tell us. Do tell us.
So licensing wise, I want to say a couple of thousand, but in actual operating, that's much more than that. You have to consider salaries, you have to consider supplies. Children go through tissue and sanitizer and wipes and lots of things. A lot. And I did try because most daycares will expect you to bring your own supply. And I tried that and it wasn't, I had a few that did and they weren't very consistent, or can I not do it this week because I'm really low on this and that. So I said, you know what? This is what it is. I signed up for this. I want to help these people. I'm just going to make it happen.
Right.
So I just made sure to have as much for these families as possible, which of course still bringing in profit because that's also important.
Right.
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 So definitely, you got to have something to start with. Like you do have to have something to start. You don't want to jump in like with debt, right? You don't want to jump into loans right away. You want to start with something. Luckily for me, I had obtained the child care desert grant that Governor Hochul had piloted because there was a need during the pandemic. It became evident that there was a child care, it was scarce, especially those providing non-traditional hours or for children with special needs or in certain communities. We are in a low income community, and there's just not many programs there to support the families. So I was one of many, I think tens of thousands of people applied. And I think a little less than 400 were awarded. And this is throughout the entire New York State. Yes. And then I was one of very few, I think like less than maybe 5 that was awarded a certain amount. So I got to meet the governor. I do have a picture with the governor. And that was the beginning. So I started with that fire energy. So I was just like, I got them to do this, I won. But that money went. As much as it was, it went. Probably more so with salaries than anything else. And it also depends on the line of business that you're doing. But, it's food. Food is expensive. Girl, I saw eggs the other day, $31.99 for $5. That's a whole nother conversation. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, just start with something. Start with something. Try to borrow as little as possible in the beginning, and down the line that's fine. But in the beginning, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
Let's go into this, right? Just for a little bit, because you saw an opportunity to apply. You just didn't just get picked. You put an application to apply for this specific grant during a time when I know the whole world was trying to figure out ways to navigate COVID, right? Just, but you were one of the ones that said, you know what? I see something. I don't know what it's all the way about. Because when you're applying, right, once you secure the grant opportunity contract, you read what it is, but you got to follow through on what the real need is. So I appreciate the fact that you said, you know what, I'm a figure this out. I'm gonna put an application, and I happen to be one of the winners in this space. And yes, you utilize it for to better and to help you to launch what's happening now within your space. So I didn't want to overlook that, because a lot of times when we're starting, we are trying to figure out where we're going to find resources if we don't have lines of credit. Access to additional resources do come up through grants. There's not many for startup businesses, but I do know that there is a recent initiative through the Empire State Development Corporation to ensure that startup businesses do have access to capital. So I'm going to share Empire State Development Corporation within New York State does have programs and services specifically for the startup phase, also for those who are past that initial phase. There are resources and capital access specifically for small businesses. So Tifany, I want more. I want more. I want more. What is as we wrap up, what advice, right? As I share your website, what advice can you offer, for those who are desiring to be in the space, and they want to take a risk, but they're afraid? What do they do?
So definitely have a backup plan, right? Because as you said, it's not for everyone. So you don't want to jump into it. It doesn't work out. Now you have nothing to go back to. So keep whatever that is that you currently have or get it, right? And keep it while you pursue entrepreneurship. But you have to have an action plan, right? You can't just talk about it. You have to be about it, right? You have to take steps towards that. And it could be somewhere where you say like at least one, I'm going to take one step a week or a month, whatever works for you. You know, I unfortunately had this complex where I felt like I had to be doing something all day, every day. Otherwise I wasn't being productive, but I moved away from that. Right. But yeah, that was me. So just because I like to be able to say I accomplished this at the end of the year. Like even if it was something as I submitted an application, whether it, came to fruition or not, but at least I did that. Right. So have a plan, write it down. Because I also feel that actually writing it down, seeing it, visualizing it is what makes it come to be. Right. And take those actual steps. Stop talking about it. We talk too much. Actually do. Right. And we need to support join like groups. I'm constantly Googling like resources. I'm constantly searching for ways to just be around, as you were saying, just being around people, even if like there's no immediate benefit, something's going to come from this. At least that's what I believe. And you got to go into this believing that. It can't always be, oh, I went all the way over here and I didn't even get it. No, you got to believe that something's going to come from this in one way or another. Whether it's someone you met, whether it was something you heard, something you learned, it's going to benefit you. So just immerse yourself into that around those, people that want to do what you want to do, not necessarily in the same field, but just being an entrepreneur in general. And find things like I found my website, by the way, that was developed through a grant initiative. So you have to just put yourself out there. You have to look, because things are not always just going to be handed to you. Right? You have to put the footwork in to find these resources and take advantage of them. So I think it's more about just being passionate and motivated about what it is you want to do. Don't talk about it, be about it. And move by faith, not by sight.
Tifany just said, move in silence. She just said, shut up, stop talking about your business and get out there, right?
Yes.
She didn't say shut up. That's mine. That's so don't be talking about that CEO from around the clock Tots tell us to shut up. Move in silence, right? And
exactly.
It does serve your business well as you are progressing, perfecting your craft.
Absolutely.
I am 9.5. I'll be 10 years in business as of September 2025. I am not an overnight success. I cheer myself on even more, as things move on, because this space here is not for the faint of heart. I can tell you about, times that I went without getting paid. I eventually got paid, but if I didn't have a backup plan, how would we eat?
Right.
That's my truth. I engage and I'm very intentional about working with other businesses and learning from entrepreneurs like such as Tifany, because I don't know it all. But I definitely know someone now that I can make referrals to. Yep. I know someone who does 24-hour service. Yep. Boom. There you go. And I believe, as Tifany mentioned, that is the power of expanding and also sharing your network. Oftentimes I think that, and I don't know if you've experienced this at thus far, is that we believe that we all cannot win. And my belief is that why not? We all can win. I don't do what Tifany does. I'm like, and at minimum, I can do, especially if we are all on a social platforms, share. If they post something, if it comes on your timeline, because everything is, shadow ban this way, blah, 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 whatever. But if you see something, specifically they are, and if you know that they are in this space of entrepreneurship full time, even if they got their toe in it part time, share, just share it. It does not, and that's free, right? Or even other ways I find like of a service, right, that they provide that you have either participated in, provide them with a review. Like, people still look
Oh,
at Google
oh
reviews,
yes.
reviews. Like, do a little bit of that, right, to help out and to encourage, right, the business owner who is doing 24 hours, staying up, trying to figure out, because in the beginning we don't have a full team, right? We are building through friends and family sometimes, through working through with virtual assistants or working with others. Like, we're all doing our best to ensure that we're living on purpose and for purpose. So, Tifany, I'm so glad
Mhm.
to have you here today. But
Thank
before
you.
before we part in this space, right, I got some fun questions I want to ask you. You ready?
Okay.
Like like this lady here. All right, this lady. So, what do you do for self care?
Ooh. Okay. So I love to read, right? But I haven't like touched a book with paper in so long. So it's usually more like an audio book, and I prefer to like read or hear books that I can learn something from
Mm,
versus for just entertainment purposes. You know, so whether it's self help books, whether it's spiritual, whether it's entrepreneur, whatever it may be, it's like I have to take something from this. So I do that. I do have a house full of children, so it's like trying to find time to do anything besides. It's not easy, but if and when I can find time, I get away. Change of environment is important, and I'm not going overseas. Just over the bridge, it's just yeah, it's just not where I'm at every day. It helps. I'm that person that can have a great time on vacation and never leave the hotel room. Okay,
mm.
that's me. Yes. So, but I think that's the number one, getting away. Just getting away. Solitude. Embrace solitude. Let's normalize being alone, doing things alone. We don't always need a partner or a girlfriend, or find happiness in just
Mm,
enjoying your own company.
mm. Tiffany, I think you got a word there. I got another question. Do you have a preference for pizza or burgers?
So, if it's burger, it has to be a turkey burger because I don't eat beef.
Okay.
And if it's pizza, it has to be old fashioned, down a block, around the corner pizzeria that's been here for 30 years, not the chain franchise pizza. Yeah,
So you like both.
I like both. But if I had to pick one, I'm only going with pizza if it's from the neighborhood, and I'm only going with a burger if it's a turkey. Oh, and it has to be ground turkey, not that
Ooh,
pre-made patty. No bueno.
no brainer. That's a no brainer.
Uh,
Sneakers or heels? What are we doing these days?
wait, can I?
She about to
Wait, I can't. I
you
try to
can't.
lift my leg up, but I won't be able to get back down. Sneakers, absolutely, 100%. And that's just more so because I can't do it anymore.
All right.
I just can't do it anymore. And I guess it also depends on where I'm going. But listen, I'll throw on a cute pair of flat shoes and make it happen. You know. But if you give me somewhere to sit down, I could put on a pair of heels. From the
Yes.
car to the seat, back to the car.
That's what I'm talking about. We making it cute and comfortable, and
Correct.
also very, very strategic, because we ain't doing
Exactly.
the. I don't know what we was thinking in the '90s. At least I don't know what I was doing in the '90s. But yeah, them shoes. So in 3 years, Tiffany, 3 years, around the clock Tots LLC.
Mm.
What's your vision?
My vision is to be in, if not another location, a small center. That's my vision. Definitely.
Well, folks, you heard it here folks first. And I'm going to share aroundtheclocktots.com. That is the about page. I'm also going to reshare for those who are going to be watching this in video format on YouTube. contact information on how to book 24-hour community services with
Yes.
around the clock tops. It is not just a daycare service, not just. And it supports, as we learned today, the entire family holistically in the community. So if you are interested, which you should be, and if you don't want to utilize the service and you know someone,
Right.
please be sure to refer. And it is important that you know that this specific business does it with love and care. Tiffany, I salute you. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for joining.
Thank you.
You got look.
Yes.
So side note, I can do the side note. Tiffany just recently graduated as a participant of the Brooklyn Community Collaborative. It was the inaugural group for minority and women business enterprises. But what was so particular about this cohort is that it was directly connected to anchor institutions in healthcare, and ensuring that there is a connectivity for those who participated. And so I had the good privilege and was always excited when Tiffany came into class,
Oh.
because it was a challenge. It was a Monday night,
Mm.
um, and also I know that most were coming after they either worked or they had other stuff going on. But I can tell you, no matter how tired the group was, when Tiffany showed up for me, there were others within the group, but specifically when she just brought this energy, right? Even though she was tired, this
Ugh.
like physically, not just
Right.
on like, oh, she tired, not like that, y'all, but
Right.
just like this energy. And I had this saying, from Monday to Monday, what did you accomplish? Tiffany never skipped a beat,
Mm.
meaning like there was always something that inspired us as a group, myself included, whether it was gaining access to capital or getting the certification at the state level, or finding, a resource. Never fails. I think we were together for like 15 weeks,
Yes.
and every Monday, whether virtual or in person, Tiffany brought the heat. So I'm super excited and glad to know Tiffany as a peer in entrepreneurship, but also excited as to what Tiffany is going to be doing in providing this as a support for the communities that need it. So congratulations,
Thank
right?
you
I know
so
you
much.
mentioned, but I just wanted to say that because oftentimes when we're in this space, you don't have to do it alone,
Mm.
right? But you definitely know that if you ever need me specifically, me
Yes.
as a partner, entrepreneur, I'm right here. So
Yes.
good
Thank
to
you.
see you.
Likewise. Seeing you next week.
Seeing me next week.
I'll have a different do, but you'll
You-
see me.
So thank you so much for
Yes.
joining. I will
Thank you
see
so
you
much
again.
for having me.
All
I
right, take
enjoyed
good
it very
care.
much. Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
So there you have it, folks. Around the clock tots. I definitely can tell you that if you are in need of services for your children, if you happen to be in Brooklyn, that is the service area, really New York City. But if you can get to Brooklyn, that's where Tiffany and her team is located. I'm going to share again just more information about how you can contact Around the Clock Tots LLC. And it is a 24-hour service that you can utilize to help you with you and your children. And also, I do not want to omit the fact that special needs children are welcome. And so, if you do happen to have a child that has special needs, Tiffany and her team has the capabilities to be able to support you and your family. And also, I want to share, this is what I got from Tiffany. I got this, and it's actually filled with some water because I need it, but it's a nice, big reminder about community and being able to support. I got this as a gift, and I love it. So thank you, Tiffany, for that. And so as we are closing out, I want to share just some additional resources because I do not want to not leave you with resources. So if you are a small business and you're looking to find youth to help you to support or work within your work site, please do not hesitate to become a work site. This is an opportunity for you to offset your business costs. When you're just starting, sometimes you can't always afford to be able to hire in the immediate, year or so. Sometimes it's not like that. But I can tell you that if you're in New York City, New York State offers this as well. You can become a work site. This one is specific to New York City. You can become a work site. There's an application that you have to complete. It's at worksite prapp.nyc.syep.com. And this is worksite prepp.nyc.syep.com. And so you could definitely do that if that is something. And also be sure to know that you have access to be able to do that at no cost to you. And the beauty about it is that it's not tapping into your budget per se, because the youth are paid through the city of New York and also the state as well. And also, I would be remiss, because I'm always looking for courageous speakers to come on. If you're interested in being a speaker, or you want to buy an ad or space, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can DM us on all of the social platforms at 11375. And also, if you want to book, we do have a form, or you can email us at info@11375.com. And guess what, friends? I want to also share something, because, this is a new design, a new sweatshirt that we have been featuring. And we recently released this at, special at the Full Circle Business Brunch. And I'm going to show the entire sweatshirt. Something that was designed. Ownership is power. And if you were an attendee at the Full Circle Business Brunch, you saw it. You saw it there first, but you're also seeing it here, that we will have on our website after this episode airs. So we thank you so much for joining us at the Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. And again, additional resources I always like to share, ways to network through chambers of commerce locally. We have the Queens, Manhattan, upstate, all the chambers, the Brooklyn Chamber as well. If you're looking for opportunities to network and grow in your business and building out business relationships. So thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you on another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. Please do not hesitate to like, share, and follow, and also subscribe at 11375. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye. This week I have been dealing with the role that I play as a leader, manager, business owner. And something that came up frequently, specifically this week, deals with the fact of how we treat the people that partner or choose to work with our business. And every day there is always a choice to uplift or a choice to bring down. And that choice is daily. Do I minimize the people that are helping to grow my vision, my dream? Or do I provide a space where we are growing and developing together? It's not easy. Every day is a choice.